This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, www.reevesfirm.com.
In the know. Good evening, everyone. In the know. Tony Reeves, fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form. No shortage of things to talk about. What does it mean? What will it bring? Is this a reality we simply have to accept? Tony Reeves, fire. Tony Reeves. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity again to join me here on Disability Talk Live with Attorney Anthony Reeves. Please forgive me and so forth. I know that as always, we're going to be dealing with any type of technical difficulties. You gotta love it, but let's go ahead and get this thing rocking and rolling. For those of you, I say the same thing as I always like to stress, is that I'll be going over some general topics, pretty much one particular topic. And in the course of you checking me out, if you have any questions whatsoever, please chime in. I'll be more than happy to stop what I'm doing. As you probably know, the first Wednesday of every month at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a set schedule to give you the opportunity just to ask me questions. Now, a lot of you take advantage of the opportunities of just sending me messages via email or asking me to do videos throughout the month. That's fine too. But today is the opportunity that you have to really get the opportunity to ask questions for me and give me the opportunity to answer them for you in a live format. But being the ever-prepared person I try to be, I do have a few things that I'd like to cover as well in the event that I don't get any questions, which is fine. I want to talk to you about what it means to get a medical statement from your doctor. Follow me along when I say this, about getting a medical statement from your doctor. A lot of times you'll hear representatives will tell you, hey, we need something from your doctor, we need a statement from your doctor, and sometimes you don't fully understand what that means. So for most of you, I figured I'm going to take the opportunity to kind of give you some feedback as to what constitutes a medical statement from a doctor. Okay, first of all, when you're asking your doctors, and this is how it typically comes up, people will come, they'll say, okay, I want to see about asking my doctor to help me out, but I don't know exactly what they should be providing to me. So I'm going to go talk to my doctor. What should I ask for? Okay, well, a couple things you need to ask for. First of all, when you want to ask them to write a medical statement about what you can and you can't do, listen to me carefully when I say this. I'm not saying for you to ask them to write a statement saying that you're disabled. That's not what I'm asking. I'm saying that you need to ask them to write a statement about what you can and what they're treating you for, what their condition is, and what you can and you can't do. So particularly, here are the things that we're looking for, at least what I'm looking for when I ask somebody to go to their doctor. I want to know, how long has that person been treating you? What are they treating you for? I also want to know what types of things are they doing for you in terms of treatment. I want to know what type of specialty that doctor has, meaning are they a general doctor, family practice, internal medicine, or are they a specialist? Then I want to get down to the nuts and bolts of what are the limitations. What exactly are they saying you can and you cannot do? And I want to know, what are they saying you can do? And it can be something, we're talking pushing, pulling, standing, lifting, being exposed to heat, hazardous materials, cold, things like that. What can't you do? And more importantly, when they're saying the things that you can and you can't do, what are they relying upon to make that determination? Are they focusing solely on what you're telling them? Are they relying on any labs? Are they relying on any testing that they've done, administered to you? I want to know what medical evidence are they using to support their position. And then I want them to tell how long do they think these limitations will last. Remember, Social Security is looking at, do you have a condition that can keep you out of work or can reasonably be expected to keep you out of work for at least 12 months or longer. So you will know whether or not this is to present itself and continue to present itself for a sustained period of time. Now, here's the big thing that I tell people, because people will ask me these questions and then I say, because they'll bust out and they'll say, okay, is there anything that they shouldn't put there, or is there any problems that I'll have? This is what I tell people whenever they run across difficulties with the doctors getting these Here are problems that you have in terms of getting a medical source statement done. First of all, they don't do forms or they don't do medical source statements. That's a common thing. When people will say, well, I need a medical source statement. Well, the doctor won't do it. Well, the reality is, first of all, let me throw this out here. I don't know the laws for every state. So I don't want you to sit here and say, is there a law that they should have to do it and so forth? I'm gonna tell you, I don't know every law for every state. I'm only familiar, I'm bar licensed in Florida. Okay, so I'm looking at it, when it comes to what the doctors can and can't do, those are state specific things. So I don't want you to have this mindset that there's got to be a law out there that compels them to have to fill out a form for me or write a statement on my behalf. Every state is a little different. So I encourage you to speak to an attorney or a representative in your state that can give you an opinion with regards to that. So we've got that out the way. They want money. That comes up a lot, where I tell people, when you ask for a statement from your doctor, be aware, be advised. There's a fairly good chance that they're going to ask for money. So don't be shocked when it happens. Don't get upset. Don't get turned upside down and get bent out of shape. They're in the business of healthcare. Healthcare is a business. So they may ask you to basically pay them to complete this form. It could be something as cheap as $50. It could be something as expensive as $500. I don't know. It depends on the provider. They want to send you to someone else. Now, I've seen this happen. Let's say you're going to a primary doctor. They're treating you for a variety of different things. And you're asking yourself in the grander scheme of things, okay, now that they've seen me and so forth, they should be able to render an opinion about what I can and can't do. A lot of times when it comes down to specifics in terms of limitations, if you're going to an internal medicine doctor, a family practitioner, or general practitioner, they may not feel as comfortable completing an evaluation or completing a form on your behalf. They would probably feel more comfortable sending you to someone who will actually do that for you, someone who specializes in that, usually physical rehabilitation medicine, somebody who does this on a regular basis. So don't be shocked if that happens. Or then the big one is, they'll write a statement for you saying you're disabled. Now, I repeat, I cannot stress this enough. I repeat, I cannot stress this enough. A statement from your doctor by itself that says you're disabled, depending on the jurisdiction, but most reps will probably tell you that by itself does not win the day for you. Because just because the doctor says, oh, you're disabled, Social Security is going to treat it that person probably doesn't know the doctor probably doesn't know the ins and outs in terms of what constitutes being disabled for purposes of Social Security regulations. So they're not as interested in that doctor's opinion about whether you're disabled. They're more interested in what that doctor's opinion is with regards to what your specific limitations are. So it's important to understand that getting a statement from your doctor, and I've seen people, they'll get a statement from them, oh man, I got a statement from my doctor says that I am disabled. And I have to pause and say, okay, that by itself does not rule the day, especially if there's medical evidence in your file that gives a contrary ruling or opinion. What do you mean by that? Well, if the doctor is sitting here treating you for a bad back, and every time that he or she sees you, your back, a review of your symptoms or your objective review of your evidence reveals that your back is basically normal, and then he comes out and says you're disabled, the judge is going to probably look and say, well, how do you resolve the inconsistency between these two? So it's really important. What the courts need is for that doctor to take the opportunity to explain your situation. So it's important. Now keep in mind, like that's why they want to know. They want to know who this doctor is, how long you've been treating with that doctor, what is their specialty, what are they treating you for, what types of evidence do they had to rely upon in order to diagnose you and treat you for your condition, and in terms of your limitations, what are your specific limitations and what medical evidence are they relying upon to support those limitations. Now keep in mind again, I'm going to say this once more. These are the typical problems that they're not totally exhaustive, but here are the problems that sometimes pop up when you come to in terms of asking for a doctor to do the form for you. It's not uncommon for a doctor to tell you that they don't do forms. It's not uncommon for them to ask for money. It's not uncommon for them to want to send you out to someone else. And it's not uncommon for them to just bust out and say, you know what, you're disabled, get out of here, call it a day. Keep in your mind that when you're asking a doctor to write some specifics about your particular condition and your situation, it's not uncommon that there may be some additional hurdles that they may ask you to jump through for purposes of assisting you in terms of providing a statement. Remember, I have said this in countless videos. For those of you who have followed me on my YouTube video for the longest, you know I pretty much go with the same gambit. My philosophy is always this. You should not, couple things. First of all, you don't want the government trying to figure out whether you're disabled or not. Remember, you bear the burden. Let me stress this again. You, not the government, you bear the burden of proving that you're disabled. That falls entirely on you. So you want to make sure that you don't leave anything to chance. I understand it. I'm right there with you. I understand that it's tough because if you were working, you'd have insurance. If you had insurance, you could go to a particular doctor to treat you and provide you the type of care and the type of follow-up that you need in order to prove your case. Most people who are applying for disability don't have health insurance. They're just trying to get in where they fit in. I understand it. Trying to get in where you can fit in. I totally get that. But remember, you bear the burden. It's up to you to prove that you're not disabled. So you don't want the government to have to figure out if you are or if you're not. So you want to take whatever steps you can in order to provide as much of a clear picture as possible about what specific limitations you have. Now, most people will sit up here and say, well, I don't understand. How do I do that? Here's the fundamental thing. Let's start with the most basic fundamental premise. You know what's going on with your body. And you believe that what's going on with your body is causing you limitations that prevents you from doing anything you used to do or anything else. So the question then becomes, what evidence do you have that supports your argument that the problems that you have are legitimate in terms of preventing you from being able to work? Well, guess what? You know where your support comes from? Doctors. So then the next question then becomes, what medical evidence that you can show with some consistency, that's consistent? What medical evidence do you have that's consistent with what you're saying keeps you from being able to work? So, you know, you're writing statements saying that these are the problems you have. People are also writing, your third parties are saying the same thing. The other magical component is your medical portion. What do you have that shows consistency across the board that supports what you're trying to say? A lot of times going to a doctor is great. That's awesome. But a lot of times those doctors don't put information specifically in your file about your specific limitations. They'll put in there your complaints. They'll put in there what type of objective evidence they've looked at, whether it be examinations, whether it be lab work, whether it be tests like CAT scans, X-rays, MRIs, things like that. They'll give you an assessment, and then they'll talk about a plan for what they want to do to correct that situation. But they don't necessarily give a breakdown of what your specific limitations are. What you want to do is you want to do it, if it's possible, is you want to make sure that when you're talking to those doctors again, and you're saying to a doctor, if you're willing to assist me, I need you to write a statement about what I can and can't do. If the doctor asks you, well, what does it need to include? We've addressed this, I've addressed this already in this video, but again, as a final reminder, you want them to talk about how long they've been treating you, what are they treating you for, what is that doctor's specialty, what medical evidence are they relying upon in terms of your diagnosis, meaning are they relying solely on examination, are they relying on any type of labs, any type of testing, any type of particulars like that. And then the biggest thing is, what limitations do they believe you have? And of those limitations that they've listed, you want to also know what medical evidence are they relying upon to support those limitations. So you want to make sure, because again, I want to say this is kind of the conclusion, you don't want the government to have to figure out anything. You want to make sure it's plain, and more importantly, you want to know what the doctors are saying out with regards to what's going on with you. So this way you can address it if the court brings it to your attention or not. Because if a doctor says something and you're thinking, you're feeling one way, and the doctor is saying something to the contrary, you want to know so that you can address it accordingly. So if the court asks you information about it, about you, and in terms of what that doctor says, you could be prepared to respond accordingly. Again, this is Attorney Anthony Reeves. This is Disability Talk Live. As always, I try my best to bring information to you. You can always, whenever I do these videos, the live videos, please feel free to throw questions in there. If you've got a question you want me to get out real quick, I don't mind stopping and then coming back to what I'm talking about. That is not a problem whatsoever. My plan is, of course, first Wednesday of every month around 4 o'clock, unless something weird. You can always come back to www.reevesfirm.com and see when the next one's going to be. This video will probably be broadcasting on my website for about a week, and then I'll announce when my next one is. And as always, if you have questions that you want to ask me along the way, that you want me to post videos on, or if you just want to send me a message, as a lot of you are very good about doing, by all means, knock yourself out. Again, this is Attorney Anthony Reeves, and this is your Disability Talk Live, brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm and Q&A, Social Security Disability Today.